This is big breaking news. The EPA has now issued a toxic chemical warning for over 1/3 of the United States, 110 million people. And this is not even related to Ohio. This is totally different. This is new, and this is a chemical that can cause Parkinson's, cause cancer. So this is devastating for the United States. Also, there have been more train derailments of hazardous chemicals as well. What's going on here? All right. And also, we're going to get into the banking collapse. It is continuing. Things are getting worse there too. And we're even seeing riots in some places. We will get to all this news: train derailments, banking, riots, and this water contamination. So lots of big breaking news. This is going to be a long one, so stick with me here because this is all important and this is all related, because these are all attacks on our infrastructure, on our banking, on our supply chain. All of these things are being hit left and right, and that's why we are seeing massive issues, massive problems. The attacks ramped up a few years ago, and especially since last year, we have seen hit after hit to our supply chain, our economy, and now our banking system. We're having a banking crisis on top of it as well. And their solution is to make things even worse, all right, in my opinion. So we will get to all that in just a second. But let's get into what's happening in Ohio really quick. Just a quick update, and then we will get to this EPA warning for 1/3 of all Americans, because this isn't even related to Ohio, but this is what could be happening to 1/3 of Americans right now, but possibly even worse, all right, and could have been happening for a while now. So this is a update of what's going on in Ohio. This is from Nick Sorter on Twitter. Go follow me on Twitter if you don't, by the way. I post stuff on there that's exclusive to Twitter sometimes, because you know how it is on here. Can't post certain things. But Nick Sorter is the one that posted this video of this lady throwing the rock in the creek right near East Palestine last month and exposing that the water is completely not safe and it's contaminated. He was one of the first people to go there and record it, and he has now given us updates on East Palestine as well. And this could be happening to the entire United States. A chemical that causes Parkinson's and cancer. The EPA is issuing a toxic chemical warning on that. We will get to that in just a second. But Nick Sorter is saying that the amount of people in East Palestine, especially the ones living near waterways, are reporting various illnesses, and it is alarming. All right, and this was just posted today. This is still happening in East Palestine, Ohio. And he said, I've spent over a month in East Palestine now, and I can confirm I've experienced these symptoms on and off since the end of week 1. I can't confirm that the chemical disaster is the cause. Doctor can't diagnose, but I've now had to cancel live TV interviews over these symptoms. So he's saying it's not definitive, but it's obviously definitive. This is what's happening. People are saying even the smell there is toxic, all right? And he also reported that the Ohio Attorney General has just confirmed that rail workers in East Palestine have reported sicknesses, sore throats, and various irritations. So even the government is starting to admit that there's a problem here. And this has been going on for months. This happened in early February, like February 2nd or something. All right. It didn't get attention until 2 weeks later. I reported on it right away, right when it happened, and then it just got swept under the rug. There was all these massive derailments and chemical explosions happening, and this is the one that really set it off to get a lot of media attention. But now it's March 14th. This happened at the beginning of February, and they're just now admitting, he even felt some, quote, discomfort while visiting the crash site. And I wanted to bring this up because the timetable of these events are always too late. The response is always so slow, and people are having massive issues. People are dying in the process, all right? People are saying they're sick, having sore throats, achy muscles, migraines, rashes. All these things are happening to these people in Ohio right now, and they're being contaminated. And This is also happening to 1/3 of Americans and their waterways right now as well too, and the EPA is even warning of this, and it's been going on for decades. And they're saying this could have sparked the Parkinson's epidemic. This is absolutely insane that this is happening. And the Treasury Secretary now is warning that the contagion could spread to other banks. All right, there's riots going on. There's more train derailments with hazardous materials. We are in the quickening where these things are happening on top of each other. And most people just forgot about train derailments and things because the banking crisis is happening right now. It's such big news that this doesn't even feel like that big of a deal anymore, but it's still huge because there are physical attacks, and then there are cyber attacks, there are digital attacks like on our banking system. But these are physical attacks on your health, right? This is directly causing people to get sick. And now the EPA is even warning that 1/3 of Americans could be at risk, and this could be causing the Parkinson's epidemic. This is absolutely insane that they're coming out and admitting this in mainstream news because this has been going on for decades, and now we are getting it's revelation after revelation, revealing after revealing. They're revealing the truth to us all at once. So we are almost overwhelmed, and the average person just can't even absorb this much information at once, much less process it and synthesize it and realize what this means for them and for their health. All right. So this is coming out of Yahoo News and the Los Angeles Times. And this headline is absolutely insane. It says, is a common industrial chemical fueling the spread of Parkinson's disease. And the EPA is even coming out and warning about this chemical as well too. And it says today up to 1/3 of the drinking water supplies in the U.S. may contain TCE, which is trichloroethylene. All right. It says according to the EPA. But the chemical also threatens indoor air quality as it can seep from the soil into homes through gaps in the foundation where it is then inhaled as vapor as well. And this is affecting housing communities all over Southern California already, they're saying. And just think about this. 1/3 of the drinking water supplies in the U.S. contain TCE according to the EPA. And look at what this chemical does. 110 million people, and they're linking it to Parkinson's now. All right, they have a lot of data linking it to Parkinson's too. This is absolutely insane. But this is what they already know it does. It causes kidney cancer, and says it's associated with Hodgkin's lymphoma and possibly liver cancer as well. That's on cancer.gov. That's a .gov website for this chemical TCE, and the EPA is even saying that 1/3 of our water supplies could be contaminated with this. This is huge news, and this will be swept under the rug, just like Ohio here. It'll just become a statistic like Ohio. It's like, yeah, 1/3 of the water is contaminated. Yeah, half the water in Ohio is contaminated, and the cancer rates went up 5%. It'll just be a statistic in history. Nothing will be done, and it's on purpose. These chemicals, this AI technology, all of these things are being released on our society on purpose to destroy it. If the water is poisoned, the farms are poisoned, the plants are poisoned, the animals are poisoned, the food you eat is poisoned, and then the water that comes out of your tap is poisoned too. You're just getting exposed to these chemicals left and right. And the EPA is even now saying that they are going to test for dioxins, which are these chemicals I warned about a couple weeks ago that are related to Agent Orange and cause massive deformities in people. And they are now saying these chemicals have been released in Ohio, Agent Orange-like chemicals, and the EPA is finally coming out a month and a half later and saying, we will now test for dioxins. All right, it's too little, too late. These people have already been exposed to massive amounts of these chemicals, and this could affect even their children. A lot of people that have Agent Orange exposure, their children have massive deformities and problems from the exposure. So this could even be generational chemical exposure, and even all the plastics that are releasing, these phthalates that are being released into our water supply and that we're drinking constantly from bottled water, and even our tap that has PVC pipes. These chemicals are known to cause cancer, are known to affect generations of humans. There are known groups that embrace depopulation of the earth and would probably like this. And check out what this doctor's even saying, all right? This is Dr. Dorsey, and he works with Parkinson's patients, and he's saying, quote, when a patient tells me about possible exposure, I Google their location and I almost always find a contaminated site. So he is even saying that a lot of his patients, if they think they've been exposed to TCE, once he informs them about it, most of the time they actually have been, and that could be correlational evidence to why they have Parkinson's. So this is very serious, and this is affecting millions of people around the world, and potentially because this chemical is just being released on us, 1/3 of our waterways, it's just been unleashed and dumped into our soils, and it stays in the soil for an extremely long time, like most of these chemicals, like the dioxins that I was talking about that are related to Agent Orange. They get absorbed into cows and chickens, and they store in your fat for a very long time. All right, so cows drink this water, cows eat the grass. There's tons of farms all over Ohio. They absorb these dioxins, stays in their fat cells. Even the milk they produce, milk's very fatty, could have these dioxins, and then we are now drinking it and eating it, and our food supply now contaminated. Even food grown over there, vegetables and things, the water, the soil is contaminated as well, and these dioxins store in our food for a long time. And the government even admits the main exposure to these dioxins is through our food supply. All right, so let's get into these other train derailments that have happened inside the United States as well, and then we will get to this bank collapse. All right, the Treasury Secretary is giving a warning of more contagion. All right, that this is going to spread. We will break all that down in just a second. But let's get to these train derailments as well too, because these are also attacks on our supply chain and on our critical infrastructure and on our waterways and environment too. Think about it. They used the train in Ohio to do all of this, and it was a 3-in-1. All right, kill three birds with one stone. So it's a very effective way. And this train derailment leaked 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel outside of Seattle, Washington, right? So this could have been a massive explosion event. 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel can act like a massive bomb if an ignition happens. And it's not hard to have sparks or fires from a train, right? So this could have been a huge event. They're still cleaning it up right now, but 5,000 gallons of diesel fuel spilled outside, probably an hour outside of Seattle. And this is just another coincidence, all right? Another coincidence. And just today, too, all right, oh, another coincidence. Don't worry, it's all a coincidence. Train derails in Glendale, Kentucky after semi got stuck on the railroad tracks as well, too. This keeps happening. I keep seeing trucks and semis and massive vehicles just getting stuck on the railroad tracks all the time. It keeps happening every other day. I'm seeing this, but I wanted to report on this today because I was covering these train derailments, and another one in Kentucky. So Washington and Kentucky, and there was actually another one in Arizona yesterday. All right, I forgot to get the article for it here, but another massive train derailment, and they were saying it was carrying hazardous materials in Arizona. So these train derailments are spreading, and every single one is another attack on our supply chain. And just think about it. Just think about the past year, how messed up and crazy our supply chain has gotten. It already started a few years ago, but then the past year with these sanctions, all right, the global supply chain, the global economy has been reordered and everything's a lot different. Everything costs a lot more now. Things are being sourced from different areas. Our entire economy, supply chain system has been changed, right? In the past few years, everything's different. Everything costs a lot more, and it is because events like this, on top of international sanctions, on top of cutting entire blocks of countries out of trading, and we no longer can get their goods, all right? Russia is one of the top manufacturers of fertilizer. All these things are coming together because they need a global collapse so they can implement their world government. Why else would they even have a thing called World Government Summit? Why else would Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, even have a World Government Summit? That's exactly what it's called. And have world leaders there. Why would they even go there to a World Government Summit? Okay? They need a global collapse, a global crisis to implement their global governance. And on top of that, a mark of the beast system that tracks and traces every single thing you do so you can be locked out of the system if you do not follow, if you do not accept this mark and this system. All right. And this is all happening at the same time. We have a massive war going on in the background. We're on the edge of World War III with Russia and China is being engineered right now. We have these attacks on our supply chains constantly. We have attacks on our food supply and on our water. And now we have attacks on our banking supply too. All these things are coming together because they've kind of exposed themselves. They kind of exposed their plan. And once the plan is out in the open, all right, they're at a World Government Summit. Once the plan's out in the open, they have to move a lot quicker because everyone knows what they're up to. They're like, wait a minute, this person is telling me they want to implement a massive world government. And people are realizing, and when we enter this phase where they're revealing what they are doing, revealing their plan, Klaus Schwab saying there's going to be a, quote, black swan event, it's very dangerous in this phase because they have to move quickly. All right, they're telling us what's coming. They've exposed themselves. The cards are on the table. So now they have to act fast and get this agenda in. And that's why all of these things are happening at once. 2023 is going to be absolutely insane. And it's only March, guys. It's only March. It feels like the year just started, but it also feels like the year's been going on for a while now. All the events that have been happening have been hard to comprehend, all right? And now we have the Treasury Secretary coming out today saying that there was a very, quote, serious risk of contagion for the banking crisis. So this isn't over yet. Credit Suisse in Europe is collapsing right now as we speak. All right, First Republic Bank in California is collapsing right now as we speak. There was another bank in the U.S. that or maybe it was First Republic, that just got downgraded to junk status, all right? And big banks like JP Morgan, Bank of America are bailing out First Republic Bank in California. So we're not out of this yet. This is getting a lot worse. And the Fed and the European Fed, the European Central Bank, they just announced they're raising interest rates again. So they're raising it 0.5% again, the European Central Bank, and the Fed is signaling that too. All of this fiasco is exactly what got us into this, all right? I'm really quick my little theory of what I think happened. So we started this massive money printing in 2020. We shut down the economy. We kept the money printing going for years. These massive budgets, these massive spending bills kept passing for the next year and a half, all right? And we had tons of inflation in response to this. Everyone saw it. Everyone's still seeing it. It's not going back to normal. Prices on a lot of your favorite things have doubled, tripled. In response to that, the Fed raised interest rates to try to slow the money flow. All right. And we talked about fractional reserve banking. When interest rates go up, then there's less loans to give out and there's less money supply. All right. Somebody puts their money in, the bank loans that money out to someone else, and they put that in a different bank, and then they loan that money out to somebody else and they put that in a different bank. So they're just creating money out of nothing with these debt-based loans. All right. But when the interest rates go up, people aren't getting as many loans and the money supply slows down, creates a massive liquidity and reserve crisis. And now they have to print even more money to get out of this, to save all these people, all these banks, going to cause more inflation. And now the Fed is saying they're just going to raise interest rates again. We are stuck in this very vicious cycle because bond prices collapsed as well, and they have to raise interest rates to incentivize bond buying. All right, this is a giant mess that we're in, and anyone that's taken basic like macroeconomics could see this a mile away. Even if you haven't, you just know intuitively that there's something wrong here. There's something going on. This doesn't make sense. You know that you can't spend 10x what you make. You know that's how it works. You can't go spend 10x of your budget every single month for decades. It's not gonna work. You're gonna be broke as heck. You're gonna be in infinite debt, and you're not even gonna be able to get any loans. All right, and this is essentially what our country has done. Our national debt is kind of like a national credit card that we just keep racking up, and we make the payments on it, but we never pay it off. And increasing interest rates, the number one thing that we're going to have to pay as a country, that our tax dollars are going to go to, is paying the national debt. Not even new programs, not even new money, new things being created. It's all going to go to the debt that we've already spent. And what have we really gotten? All right, the national debt has raised over $10 trillion the past few years. What have we really gotten? We just have these train derailments still, and our roads are crap. I'm telling you, some of these roads, I'm sorry, I love these states. I love the South. I was born in Ohio, but I lived in Florida my whole life. My dad's a country Florida boy. All right. Just fished all day. That's all my dad did. I love fishing too. But I'm sorry, the roads down in Louisiana and Mississippi, some of those highways down there are the worst roads I've ever driven on. Absolutely insane. These are interstates too. I can't remember what interstate it is down there, but one of the ones I've driven on, it's like this the whole time, driving on my RV for hours. Absolutely insane. Just bumps, just like rigid the whole time. It's like it would probably be better driving on a washed out dirt road, right? And like a washboard dirt road. And what have we gotten for it? For this $10 trillion, we haven't gotten anything. Haven't gotten nothing. All right. It's $10 trillion. They gave us these little checks. There was like a minuscule amount of that $10 trillion. It was like, here's a little bit of, we've already given that to people overseas just in the past year. All right. The amount they gave us, and they acted like it was such a great achievement to give us our own tax money, and then there's interest on it, and we got to pay back the debt, and it inflates our currency, all this stuff. They acted like it was such a great deal and such a great gift to give us our own tax money and then inflate our own money that we already had and cause all this massive inflation for the next however many years. And now we're in a massive banking crisis for it. All right. It's a domino effect. You can't just shut down the economy and print out all this money for nothing. There's a price to pay. There's a consequence to pay. And part of that price to pay is people are going to get upset, all right? I don't think this is the solution, but this is happening in France right now. People are very upset because the president of France raised the retirement age, the social security age, pretty much a few years, and he did this without a vote or anything. And people are pissed, right? People paid into this their whole life. They were given a deal, given a contract, and then it's just being changed through pretty much an executive order as well too. It's not even a law is passing or anything like that. It's just an executive order changing this. And we can see that coming here. There's no law being passed for this FDIC change, all right? The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation says they will cover $250,000 by law that Congress passed. And the executive branch can just say, "Hey, we're not going to do the 250K. We're going to do whatever we want, whatever amount we want." And we're going to see this in the US too, where the banking system, the monetary system is going to be manipulated through the executive branch, even though Congress specifically has power over the purse. Technically, the Treasury should be under Congress, but it's not. It's under the executive branch for some reason. But we are going to see these manipulations from the executive level. And it could look like this, guys. We could even see things like there are senators calling for this. I think it was Senator Elizabeth Warren was calling for everyone just to bank with the federal government. Right? She was calling for all banks to go, just get rid of all banks. Oh, I'm getting chills right now because we were just like this close. We were like this close to midnight. We were like seconds to midnight, guys. It's getting closer every day. And now we have a top senator, Elizabeth Warren. She was even saying we should just get rid of all banks and everyone should just bank with the Fed. She was like, why doesn't everyone just bank with the Federal Reserve? Why don't we just have federal bank accounts? That way this can't happen. And then the feds can just give loans to everyone and take on all this debt. And then it's absolutely insane. And that's what they want. This is probably the plan. All right. This is probably the first domino. These first few banks is to collapse all the banks. So it's all federal. All right. I'm always imagining it as, yeah, we will be under these banks with a Fed coin, with a central banking digital currency. But they probably just want to get rid of the banks. Honestly, all of them. They'll probably allow the big banks to swallow up all the little ones. But in the end, they're going to even take out the big ones and shut them down. The Fed can just come in and shut down a bank. Look at what they did to Silicon Valley. They just came in, shut it down. Signature Bank came in, shut it down. And people were even speculating this shutting down of Signature Bank was an attack on cryptocurrency because the bank was heavily invested in crypto and a lot of people had their crypto reserves in this bank apparently. And people were even speculating, hey, maybe these banks were targeted, especially Signature Bank. But it's one of these things. These banks are also extremely irresponsible with your money. They just take your money and invest it in whatever business they want. And their investing standards could be extremely low, right? Their risk profile could be extremely high, and they're just throwing your money at whatever risk they want, and it's just gone. It's lost. They could be giving loans to whoever they want, and they are not being repaid, right? This could also be causing a liquidity crisis at these banks, but it's engineered, all right? They want to have you using the Fed coin. The Federal Reserve is even announcing a Fed Pay payment system that they are launching in July, all right? And this is I believe it's like Venmo. It's like Venmo or Cash App or something. So it's called Fed Pay, where you can send money to other people with this Fed Pay. This is getting very serious very quickly, and just a coincidence that they have all these things ready to go. All right, ready to go. Sounds a little familiar. A little familiar where they just have all these things ready and then the crisis happens and then they have this solution. Oh, don't worry, we have FedPay. Don't worry, we have this crypto central digital currency. Don't worry, all right? Don't worry, we can bail out everyone and just cause even more inflation and raise the rates even more and just make this situation, it's like pouring gas on top of this fire. It's what they're doing. And these riots in France are bad, but if banks start going under nationwide, it's going to look absolutely apocalyptic inside the United States because people are going to lose it. People are going to lose it. We've already seen people lose it in the US, and I don't advocate for this. Your best chance of survival, because that's the key, all right? You want to survive. You don't want to be in the middle of this. And most of the time, these things are psyops, and they're ran by groups, agitator groups, all right? Just to put it lightly, a lot of times that's what's happening, and you could be falling into a trap, getting sucked into these events, all right? But your best bet is to get out of the city now, is to have reserves now, have physical cash on you now. You don't have to have a ton, but have some and just keep that. That's just for an emergency like this, like we're seeing. Have gold coins, have silver coins, have even the federal government releases a lot of cool dollar coins. They have like Sacagawea coins, and they're always releasing new coins. My dad, when I was a kid, he would always give us cool gold and silver coins, silver dollars, $2 bills, these alternative sources of value that could be worth more. All right, somebody sees a gold coin in a hitting the fan scenario, that could be worth $5, $10 instead of just a paper dollar, because people just will intuitively know that metals and gold and silver dollars even, they will be worth a lot more when it hits the fan, because people will intuitively know this is a precious metal. This has value all over the world. I could bring this silver dollar anywhere and trade it and get value for it. All right, it's not directly, it's partially tied to the US dollar, but it has inherent values that it's made of silver. It can be used for other sources. So just have these things, all right? I've just always liked to collect coins, things like that. And you could just look at it like that. Just try to collect these different kinds of coins, these different alternative stores of value, because it's getting bad, guys, all right? We've already seen the dollar lose so much value just in the past few years. I mean, prices at the grocery store, I can't even believe how much I'm spending at the grocery store. It's absolutely insane. It's definitely our biggest expense besides paying rent, okay, is groceries. It's absolutely insane. I have a family of four. I have 2 kids and my wife, and it's very expensive. I know it's region dependent, but compared to just a few years ago, it used to be so cheap to buy your own food, cook your own food, and now it's almost just as expensive to buy your food and cook it. And it takes a bunch of time to cook it as well too, all right? We still cook our own food because we live so far away, but it almost doesn't even seem worth it anymore. You're not even really saving any money anymore in the long run. Obviously, it's healthier, but it's not getting better, guys. Even Meta, even Facebook here, they are laying off 10,000 more workers. So I reported on this in November that they cut 10,000 workers, and now they're cutting another 10,000. This is happening all over the economy. Company after company is going down, and they're cutting their workers. And even Walmart, all right, they are pulling out of Portland, Oregon because of crime. So stores and companies are shutting down because of crime too. So we are in a collapse scenario, and the Walmart thing is so sad because Walmart comes in, and I love Walmart. I shop there all the time, but think about it in the big picture. All right, Walmart comes in, all these mom and pop shops, they get shut down. They can't compete with Walmart. And then, whatever, 5 years later, 10 years later, there's no more mom and pop shops. And now Walmart, I should have got the article for this, but I just thought of it. And now Walmart is pulling out of Portland, Oregon, and now they're not going to have anything. So now there's no mom and pop shops, and now there's no Walmart either. This is attack after attack after attack, and it's getting bad. They're changing America. They're turning it into a different country, and it's happening very quickly, and it's engineered, right? This doesn't just happen overnight. There's an agenda to take out the U.S. And think about Agenda 2030. All right, that is in place right now, and that is their main goal. And we keep seeing that as the goal for all these targets that they have. All these, that's why it's even called Agenda 2030. Okay, that's the target year to be net zero, to have all of their agendas in place. So they really need to ramp it up. That's what I was saying at the beginning of this video. They are revealing things to us at the same time they're ramping it up, because they can't just ramp it up without you noticing. So it's being revealed, but we're catching on. People are waking up, but at the same time, it's getting so quick that it's hard to follow. It's hard to comprehend. It's hard to synthesize all of this information and make it make sense, because it's chaos too. Information is also chaos. They overload us. There's so much just BS information out there too that's not even important, but all of these little gems are out there too. They admit the truth all over, and that's kind of my job for you guys. I'm always looking for this gem. Like I'm literally just reading the news hours and hours a day. All right, I'm gonna tell you how exciting my life is here. Give you some behind the scenes. All right. I do stuff with my family. I'll go to the park with my family, do stuff with my kids, take them to their events and stuff like that. I'm always doing stuff like that. I love doing stuff with my family. But me personally, all right, I'm just reading the news for hours and hours and trying to find this little gem in there for you guys to bring you, because they are admitting it. They're revealing it all over the place. Even here, serious risk of contagion. Yellen, serious risk of contagion. She was just overseas literally last week, and giving billions of dollars. I think she pledged like another $500 million or $1 billion or something over there. Okay, some crazy amount. Just last week was overseas and saying, "We will secure this money. Don't worry." Why is the Treasury Secretary even over there? What is she even doing over there? This is absolutely insane. When this and then she comes back this week and there's a banking crisis. Maybe you should have been a little more focused on the United States this whole time, instead of focused on printing all of our money and sending it overseas, right? And they know what's happening. Serious risk of contagion. But they don't care. They don't do anything. They don't react. They don't respond. There's nothing, because it's on purpose. It's an agenda. And these people have been put in place for a reason, right? And a lot of them are even compromised. Top people in Congress, top people in the Senate, and agencies, even all the way up to the top. There are people that are compromised. This is very dangerous for our country, and they don't really care. They get paid a certain amount to implement an agenda, to sign whatever, to do whatever, to not do something, to not respond to something. They get paid, they get told what to do, and they just do it. They don't really care. Their pockets get lined, and then they go live their best life. They go buy a mansion right on the water while they tell you you're bad for driving your car, for driving your truck. Everything that is done is just anti-American. It's anti-human, and it is never in our best interest. Even Biden was saying, "Hey, I'm going to go to East Palestine. I'm going to go there." And now it's been 2 weeks. That was 2 weeks ago. And nobody's heard of him. Officials are trying to get a hold of him, and nobody knows where he's at, what he's doing. He's not going. but he can fly all the way across the world, go to a country that we are not even in any formal alliance with, and go walk around the streets of a potential war zone. They're saying this is a war zone here. And he's able to walk around the streets over there, but he can't go to East Palestine. And that was 2 weeks ago. And then he said, oh, I'm going to go. And now nobody can get in contact with him from Ohio. And he's not going. He's not going. Doesn't care. Doesn't matter. He's always saying, I'm from Scranton, guys. I'm Scranton. All right. But he doesn't care. He's apparently from this area, all right? Pennsylvania, Ohio, this is right there on the border. Apparently from this area, but just doesn't care. Doesn't care, all right? Because these people are compromised. And there are people that want to destroy America, all right? And they want to make it look like this on every street, every block, every city. And they want to do it any way possible. Banking collapse, supply chain collapse, inflation, all right? They want to just hit us from all angles, have a massive war. All these cards are on the table right now, and it really feels like we are repeating the 1920s, all right? History, I said this in my last video or in the last couple of videos, history does repeat itself. And sometimes it's natural. Sometimes it's a natural repetition, but a lot of times it's engineered. All right. The banking collapse in America in the 20s and 30s. All right. We had the roaring 20s, 30s, and then World War II. All right. The Federal Reserve was implemented in 1913. And then all of a sudden we have the roaring 20s. We have this massive, it's great. There's all this money printing. It's a great, glorious crash, right? 1930s crash, and then end of 1930s, 1940s, massive world war. It sounds very familiar. Oh, we had this money printing, living good, life's good, it's all good, crash, right? And now we have a massive war looming in the background as well with China and Russia. So history does repeat itself, but Federal Reserve came along 1913, all right? These massive busts and boom cycles didn't really happen until the Federal Reserve came along. And somehow our country was able to operate for, 150 years, however many years, without the Federal Reserve. And then all of a sudden, the Federal Reserve comes in 1913, and we have these massive busts and boom cycles inside the United States, and it leads us to war. And we know bankers fund both sides of wars because they make money from it, right? Because then they have the economies and the countries under their thumb. You're in the middle of a war. You have to print more money. You have to do more. You have to do this because it's a war. Right? So they love war too. They fund both sides of wars. And even Biden said, right when all this stuff happened last year, he said, we are on the edge of a new world order. And he said the last one happened during World War II. And he said a lot of people had to die for this new world order to be implemented from World War II, after World War II. Biden himself said this, and he said there needs to be a new one. I don't want to say it too much, but Biden himself even said that last year when everything started popping off. He went to Europe. He did this tour around Europe, and he even said that, right? And he was saying food shortages are going to get real. I remember all these videos I made all these videos, and he said cyber attacks are coming. He was warning of all these things. They know what's going on. They know what's happening. And now look at it. A year later, in hindsight, the world is completely different. Even a year later, much less 3 years ago, 2020, the world is completely different now. And there are engineers and designers. They go to the World Economic Forum and World Government Summit and tell us that they're engineering these plans and agendas. All right. So make sure you guys are getting prepared. I am super blessed to have you guys watching. You guys are some of the smartest, most aware, most prepared audience on in the world, okay? In the US and in the world too. You guys are some of the most prepared and on top of it. So I'm honored to be associated with you guys. You guys are truly a blessing watching me. I'm super thankful to have you guys as an audience and to be associated with you guys. All right. Not everyone sees this stuff. Not everyone can see this. And I feel like certain people are given certain visions, and you guys have the vision. You guys can see what's happening. And I am super grateful to be associated with you guys because I see it too. I see what's happening, and it's good to know that there's tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people out there that see this too. And this is real, and you're not crazy. All right. So thank you guys so much. I freaking love you guys. Please hit that like for me. Please hit that sub for me. Please hit that bell if you want to get notified. Click all too, and you'll get notified right on your phone so you won't miss a video. Thank you guys so much. And I hope you guys have a big old blessed day.